We are so glad you're here joining us tonight at Lewis and Clark Pachyderms. For those of you who don't know, I'm Phil Bosco. I'm the current president. And we're just so thrilled to see so many new faces. That's always a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. While our candidates are making their way up here, for those of you who are not familiar, our forum tonight follows a pretty standard format. We do this a couple times a year. Anytime that there's a contested primary. We'll start off with each candidate gets 3 minutes to introduce themselves to you, kind of go over bio and things. And then the question cards on the tables that you guys have been submitting, we'll go through those. You'll see me kind of shuffling through, condensing things. If somebody asked the same question, we had a lot of good questions, a lot of unique stuff, so we'll get through them very quickly. Cindy Evans is one of our board members over here, and she has timers, and she will not be shy about telling them, hey, your time is expired.
If I ring the bell, there you go.
Just one note tonight, since this is a judicial candidate forum, they have additional rules beyond the NEC and the statutory rules about what they can and can't say. So if they are explaining that, and that's why they can't take positions on some of the more detailed policy pieces. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start. If you want to come on forward. Yeah. So I have a chair over there, and I'm going to be passing the microphone back and forth to these ladies. We start with the candidate listed first on the ballot for their introduction, and then there's the second one. And then when we do closing remarks at the end, we will invert that order for fairness. So first on the ballot is Judge Denise Childress, and then we will have Tanya Mum. There are 2 chairs right here, and if you ladies want to step forward, I will hand this off.
So you want us sitting?
You can sit or stand as you prefer, and you can change your mind later throughout. There's water for each of you up here as well.
Perfect. Sure. Hello. As Eva said, I am Judge Denise Childress. I am your current Division 11 Associate Circuit Judge here in St. Charles County. Thank you, all of you, for coming here tonight and keeping an open mind to listen to each of us so that you can make an informed decision in August. I am a Christian constitutional conservative. What does that mean to me? As a Christian, is that going to influence my judicial decisions? No. But faith guides my life. And what my faith does influence is how I treat people who come into my courtroom. It is my belief that every person is born with dignity that is God given to them, and they deserve to be treated with patience, fairness, and dignity within my courtroom, as well as while I'm meting out justice and holding people personally accountable. Constitutional. For those of you here that know me and know me before I was a judge, I am a constitutional nerd. So I see it as my job to uphold the Constitution and ensure that constitutional rights are respected. And that trickles down through the rule of law, that the law is upheld and that the rules are followed in my courtroom. That is paramount in my courtroom. Conservative. What does that mean? I am on your Republican ballot. I used to be involved with the Republican clubs before I became a judge and had to divest myself from that. But what that looks like in a courtroom, again, does that mean that's going to influence my decisions? No. I apply the law to the facts that come in my courtroom. What that means to me, however, is that I am one of 3 branches of government. I believe it's small government. And I believe that judges should act within the bounds that we are allowed to act and not step outside of them. So I do not believe in judicial activism. If I don't like the law, and it's the law, I still have to apply that in my courtroom. It's not for me to write the law. That's for our other branches of government to do. So Christian Constitutional Conservative, I'm on your ballot in August. I ask for your vote. A little bit more about me while I have some time left. I was a former small business owner here in St. Charles County. I own 2 small businesses, so I uniquely understand what the businesses that come into my courtroom go through. One of the dockets that Division 11 currently has is the small claims docket. Oftentimes we see businesses or contractors or customers come into the courtroom. Of course, we've all been customers at some time or another. And so I have that unique experience and understanding that those litigants of what my litigants are going through when they come into my courtroom. Is that seconds?
Yes.
All right.
You don't have to use it all if you don't want to.
Right, I will yield my time to Ms. Munn.
I will just say, last month, there were times where the candidates did not use all their time. And if you're done with your answer, you're just done with your answer. That's
That was a joke, I don't expect it.
okay.
Well, the waitress will be walking by.
My name is Tanya Mum, and I am currently an assistant prosecuting attorney for St. Charles County. I have been that for 31 years. I grew up here in St. Charles, and so I have the St. Charles values bred in me. My dad grew up here. He was a local physician that if you're from St. Charles and you were ever operated on, he probably did it. My grandpa was a dentist here. So I've got deep roots in St. Charles. And when I graduated from high school, it was here in St. Charles County, a little school up north called Orchard Farm. And I went on to college and came back because I love St. Charles County. It's a great place to live, grow up, have a business, raise a family. And one of those reasons is because we are pretty safe. We're a close community, and we like it that way. And so I have those values, and I wanted to keep St. Charles safe and keep it to that great place to live and raise a family. I raised my family here, and I want to make sure that others have that same opportunity. One of the ways that is why I'm running is it's important to have judges that hold our values as well. And our law is set. You know, we have a legislature that passes the laws. We have our law enforcement that enforces them. The prosecutor's office works with law enforcement to enforce those laws. And then we have the judicial branch. And they get the final say in a lot of this. But when the prosecutor's office files charges, oftentimes there are bonds associated with those charges. And that's important because people that commit crimes out here need to be held accountable, and it should be in a timely manner. And when they don't show up for court, that impedes our ability to efficiently resolve these cases for victims as well as the defendants. And it's not about changing the law. We can't change it to how we would like it to be or how we want it to be. That's up to the legislature. And by the time it gets to our court, it's going to be already determined that it's constitutional, and it's up to us to enforce it. So then we need to proceed efficiently. There are rights that the defendants have. And litigants. They have the right to be in court. One of the biggest complaints is that they go to court and nothing happens. We need to move efficiently. I have 31, thank you.
We'll go ahead and move straight to questions. Now, since we've got 2 candidates instead of 3, I'll give you the first one, move over to you, and then go ahead and stay standing because you'll get the first one on the next one, and we'll just bounce right back and forth, okay?
And how many minutes?
1 minute. There's a lot of questions in this. Speak for. I'm answering. I mean, first question: what is the position you're running for, and what does it entail?
A minute. It is an associate circuit court judge, which is an assistant essentially to the circuit court. It handles lower level criminal cases, lower level civil cases up to $25,000 in damages, various other things. It handles some family court, expungements, all kinds of a variety of things. And that is, what was that the end of? That's what I'm running for.
Yes.
It's a short and sweet question.
Okay.
All right. So what does an associate circuit judge do and what does the job entail? I'm, as I said, currently the associate circuit judge in Division 11. Associate circuit judges have their own autonomy. I don't answer to circuit court judges. We are not assistants. My judgment is final. There are certain statutory rules and laws where you can appeal it to a higher level. Sometimes that higher level is a circuit court, but the associate judge is autonomous. What does Division 11 currently do? Division 11 handles probably the most variety of the associate judges. We have family law matters. I handle small claims. We handle restraining orders to protect adult and child victims of domestic abuse. We have a criminal docket. If you don't pay your child support, it's a crime. So I have that dedicated docket. We do expungement, structured settlements, and then the bulk civil filer docket, which is landlord-tenant, debtor-creditor, any contract cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, why are you a Republican?
Why am I a Republican? That's a great question. I think it's one that we have to be a little bit careful on as a judicial candidate. I can put an R next to my name, and that's about it. So we will go back to my philosophy of being a Christian constitutional conservative. I believe in small government. I believe in the roles that government agents play should be small and should be tailored for what they are, and it should not, we should not step outside of that. I believe that individuals have their personal autonomy and have a right not to have government interfering where they shouldn't be. I will hand it off to my opponent.
The bottom line is I'm a conservative. Again, small government, you want to be able to exercise your personal rights within our Constitution. And to do that, you need to limit some things. One of the things that is certainly important, and there's different philosophies, and some people prioritize some aspects of what would be considered Republican or not. One of the things that's very important to me, as far as my aspects, is the safety of the community and law and order. And so that is one of the things, financial security and responsibility in our community. We were lucky to live here in St. Charles County and in Missouri during COVID. And those are different things that I guess we have different aspects on. There are a lot of things that cover Republicans, but those are just a few.
Please discuss any volunteer activities that may demonstrate your commitment to the community or to the nation if it applies.
Did you say the nation as it applies?
It says to the community or to the nation if it applies.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I volunteer a lot of places. I've been a previous president. I've been a member of the St. Charles Lewis&ClarkPachydermsClub for, I guess it's 23 years. I went with my son in a little pumpkin seat early on. And so I've been a member of the Kiwanis for 23 years. I was a president. And the reason I'm with Kiwanis is because I feel like I can do more with them as part of a group than just me individually giving to various charities. St. Charles Kiwanis and the Kiwanis Club in general, Kiwanis International, focuses on kids. And so St. Charles Kiwanis focuses on the children in our community, raising funds to help the kids in our community. I've also been on the board for the St. Charles County Youth Soccer Association. I've been coaches for kids teams in soccer as well as baseball, and my big focus is on kids.
Thank you. One of the great things about St. Charles County is the community that we live in. And I think it's very important to give back to the community. So how I have previously served my community is I was on the board for the St. Charles City Parks and Recreation Department. I currently sit on the board of BCI, Boone Center. We employ adults with disabilities to give them meaningful community and meaningful jobs and employment, as well as creating a workforce. I also volunteer with the foster adoption support team at their food pantry on the weekends, because it's really important to support those families that are taking care of our most vulnerable in our court system and here in our community. I also volunteer my time giving back. I'm very passionate about civic education, so I go to many groups to talk about the court system, talk about the law, talk about access. I like to teach as well. I teach law enforcement officers. I was just at the Missouri State Highway Patrol Academy this past week with their recruit class talking about courtroom testimony in the law. Thank you.
If money were no issue, what would be the first change or upgrade you would make to your department?
If money were no issue, unfortunately it is. But if money were no issue, we need more room in our courthouse. We are running out of courtrooms. We are running out of space for clerks. We need more clerks. We need more judges. And so that is what I would do with the money in our, if it was endless. Another change, I know we are growing out of our jail facility, so I would invest in our jail facility as well to ensure that we can protect the community and have a safe place for our residents.
Yes, space in the jail is at a premium. So that is one huge area. We are apparently getting some more space in the courtroom. We do need more courts, but I think also we need technology to allow people to be able to get in and have access to the courts and understand what's going on, and to educate the people that come in and help them navigate through our system. We only have, okay. Sorry, lost my train of thought. The space is something that's important. There's always need for our clerks. Our clerks are overworked, which also then helps get the cases updated and helps cases proceed through the judicial system. So there's always court personnel that can also be used. I think judges, I think we probably have enough judges.
One thing I love about this group, sometimes there's an off-the-wall question in here.
Oh, great.
If a defendant throws one of their shoes at you in court, how would you react?
Well, if I'm in court, I think the bailiff, who actually my bailiff is right here, he's usually on top of things and he's going to maintain decorum in the courtroom. That's one thing that's not generally allowed. You also have to take into consideration what's going on. We have a lot of people that come into court that have some handicaps, some disabilities that may affect their ability to maintain decorum or understand what is expected of them. And so part of it is understanding people and reading the room. And I think I would need to look at that and decide. Just because they throw the shoe, that may be, I don't know, their sign of, I don't know, they have a crush on you. I don't know. So you need to be aware of the situation, read the room, and then address it properly. If it's something that they need to be removed from the courtroom, that can happen. If they just need some attention, that can happen too.
Somebody threw a shoe at me, I'd probably dodge it. I tried my best, but as Tanya said, we have really great bailiffs in our court that keep our courtrooms safe, and they have an eye on those sorts of things so it doesn't escalate. But sometimes there are unruly litigants, and I have had some unruly litigants in my courtroom. I think it's important to understand that when people come to court, oftentimes they're very frustrated. It's sometimes the worst moment of their lives they're having to relive. Nobody wants to be there. And it's important to understand the role that you play, I play as a judge, because I do have the power in my courtroom. And what do you do with that power? Do you yell? Do you kick somebody out? Or do you sit with patience and understanding and listen to what they have to say? That's a fine line to learn how to walk, because we have to demand respect for the court system. But if somebody wants to tell me I have no soul because they've lost their case, which that has happened before, it's not my place to rub it in. Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.
Please describe jury nullification and give us your opinion on the subject.
I think that might be one I have no comment on. Do you have a comment on this one? No. All right.
Jury nullification, for those of you that may not be aware, is when a jury decides to not follow the law. And as part of court procedure, when you're in a jury trial, you go through the process of picking a jury. You ask them questions to get to any biases that could affect their ability to be a fair and impartial juror. So they answer questions, you go through the process, they become a juror, they listen to the case and the evidence. And so then one of the questions that we're asking is, can you follow the law in our state? And they generally say yes. So then to come back and then not follow the law, that is a concern. It is certainly not something that can ever be argued. As a defense attorney, you cannot say, hey, exercise jury nullification or anything like that. As attorneys and lawyers, we have to follow ethical rules.
If Missouri ever passed a red flag law, would you issue an order to take away someone's guns prior to the conviction of a crime if you believe them to be dangerous?
So there's a lot to unpack there because, again, it depends on what the law is. So if we pass a law that says that, somebody, and we have certain laws that, for an example, there's a domestic violence, somebody has a domestic violence case or an order of protection. They're not supposed to be able to have a firearm. So those kind of things, then that is within our law. So yes, then they need to be able to do that. What was the specific question? Would I allow them to do that?
If Missouri ever passed a red flag law, would you issue an order to take away someone's guns prior to the conviction of a crime if you believe them to be dangerous?
And that, again, the process, it'd have to be set out in a specific process. So it would have to have due process and go through the court procedures. What those specifically are, you'd have to look at it. And again, if our legislature files it, passes it, it's signed into law, then yes, as a judge, we follow the law. Again, what the requirements are or what would need to be looked at and to see if they have been met.
Thank you. As a judge, I swear to uphold the law. If the legislature passed a law, I will enforce it as written. So just used to.
Okay. Do you support or oppose the Missouri plan for the selection of judges? Missouri plan is in quotes.
All right, a lot of policy questions that you don't get very good answers from me dodging here, but again, as a judge, I have to be very careful how I talk about these things. So the Missouri Court Plan is the nonpartisan plan. That's how judges in St. Louis County, St. Louis City, Greene County, which is Springfield, Clay, Jackson, and Phelps County, which is Kansas City, the appellate court and the Supreme Court. That's how they all get their jobs, essentially, as opposed to our county, which is an elected county. I don't have any public opinion on what that would be because I don't necessarily believe I'm allowed to have a public opinion. There's pros and cons to both of the systems. In St. Charles County, in order to move to the Missouri Court Plan, our voters would have to pass a constitutional amendment to do so. And again, I would follow the law. It removes the election, so I wouldn't be up here talking to you. We wouldn't have to be putting out signs and raising money and things of that nature. But it's just a different way for judges to get into the system.
As indicated, there's pros and cons. St. Charles and the other counties where the judges are elected, there are opportunities to then remove a judge that is not doing what they are supposed to be doing, or that they do not meet the standards of what the community standards are, or what they feel should be. So there is a way. We've had several judges that have been removed when they've been sitting judges as the incumbent, and it is a way to remove someone that's not doing their job properly or as the community standards would ask them to do that, because we are part of the community and elected. The Missouri plan is based on a retention. They are voted on whether they are retained or not. It's very rare that they get removed, though. So once somebody is in, then they are in until essentially they're 70, when there's mandatory retirement.
Please state in the simplest terms you can, what is the purpose of government?
The purpose of government, I guess I would say, is to bring its citizens the necessities that can best be provided with the funds and resources from the government rather than from individuals or private parties. So that's, I guess, kind of, our essentials. We have sewer, water, electrical. Those are things that would be very difficult for us to get for ourselves. So we do rely on the government to provide those, or at least have the framework.
Every person is born with the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and to enjoy the gains of their own work. Okay. And the government's role is to make sure that these rights are enforced and protected. Each person is created equal and deserves the equal application of the law. That's what my job is as a judge, is to ensure that these rights are protected. And that's the role of government.
If an illegal immigrant appeared before you and their lack of legal status only became known after the case began, would you report them to the feds?
Again, as a judge, it is my sworn duty to uphold the law in my courtroom. Something like that might be brought to the bailiff's attention. However, my job is to enforce the law. What that looks like realistically in court is oftentimes we have individuals who come in and they're flagged for having a warrant for their arrest for a state offense. And we will have a conversation with myself and my bailiff ahead of court to flag those individuals and to make sure that we can take them into custody in a safe, calm way. And that's what I'm doing.
The problem with the question is oftentimes it doesn't get brought to your attention. As a judge, you are addressing the parties. There's also procedures that you have to go through to verify it. And as the situation, and in a similar situation, is warrants. If somebody has a warrant, our bailiffs have to confirm those and make sure that, yes, it's still there, that somebody hadn't already picked them up on it, and that the place that wants them is still going to want them. So there's procedures that you have to go through. As a judge sitting there, you're not going to know this, especially if it's after the fact and they leave the courtroom. A lot of times it's going to be rumor. It may be a disgruntled party that's making claims. They may be making assumptions based on appearances. So you have to be careful. If it is something that they are found to not be a legal resident, we have to follow the law.
Have you been endorsed by any public sector or private sector unions?
Yes, I am proud to say I have been endorsed by all the local law enforcement agencies that give endorsements here. I work with law enforcement agencies here for 31 years, And I've worked closely with road officers, detectives, and command staff. So the Eastern Missouri police officers, the Fraternal Order of Police for Lodge 15, which is the eastern side of Missouri, has endorsed me. The Police Chiefs Association has endorsed me for the St. Louis area, as well as the state, and the St. Charles County Police Officers Association, as well as St. Charles City Police Officers Association. And then Tri-County Labor, as well as the Electrical Workers Union, both of those have also endorsed me.
As far as unions go, I have the endorsement of the fire and paramedics local here in St. Charles County. I think they cover the 9 surrounding counties. I'd have to double check that number though. And that's the endorsement that I'm proud to have.
How much experience do you have as a judge, and how would you describe your judicial philosophy?
As a judge, I was appointed in October 2024. My first day was January 2nd when the courts opened in 2025. So I have about a year and a half, a little over that, experience as a judge. Again, I've kind of already gone through this, but I have experience in a wide variety of areas that require knowledge of a wide variety of the law, civil rules of evidence, criminal law, criminal rules of evidence. My judicial philosophy, I mean, I've kind of already gone through this, so at the risk of repeating myself, my judicial philosophy is to apply the law to the facts as it comes to my courtroom, to treat everybody who walks through those doors, whether litigant or not, with courtesy, patience, being calm, and listening to all sides. Because I think that part of the constitutional right of due process, you have the right to notice and to be heard. And so it's very important that judges don't come in already decided, that you fully listen to the litigants, even if it seems to start going one way or the other. Thank you.
I have not been a judge. I have been a prosecutor for 31 years. Part of that, though, in fact, a lot of what I do as a prosecutor is what a judge would do. The only difference is a judge has the final say. As a prosecutor, we get police that submit police reports. All of the criminal charges are generated by reviewing police reports. They come into our office and we make the decision if there is enough evidence to prosecute the crime based on the law and the evidence that's presented. So we're already evaluating what the evidence is supposed to be, what's expected to be, and the law as it is currently. When we do that, then we also proceed to try to determine if there's a way to work it out. Is there a way to settle this without going to trial so that both parties get something and a negotiated disposition? In order to do that, we also evaluate the case. How likely are we at trial?
If someone took an illegal action in response to an unconstitutional government act, such as destroying a city's SWAT camera, how would you approach a resulting case?
Tough crowd.
Okay, yeah. And through the Constitution, and I'll kind of relate it to something else. Through the Constitution, there are procedures to go through if there is something that you feel is an illegal action. An unlawful arrest is one of those. The law is you cannot resist arrest even if you think it was an unlawful arrest. You have to go through the judicial process and have due process taken. So the same thing applies. If they're going to destroy the camera, they're going to have to go through the process. They'll probably get charged with the property damage and have to defend it. And whether they are justified in their mind or actually in the law, that's going to be a determination that's going to be made based on looking at the law and the evidence presented.
I'm a broken record up here because that sounds like it might be a case that might come before me at some point, whoever. So I will not comment on the particulars. But I will comment on constitutional rights. The place that we assert and enforce our constitutional rights are in a courtroom. It's not roadside. You want to assert roadside and invoke them. However, it's important that rights are enforced in a courtroom so that we can uphold the rule of law and there's not chaos on the streets for people determining what they think the law should be and acting accordingly, as opposed to what the law has been determined by the legislature and the judicial decisions in case law.
Continuing on rule of law, as a judge, would you support a prohibition on use of foreign law of any kind in U.S. and/or Missouri courts?
Again, this is getting very policy specific, and I would enforce the law as it is written by the Missouri legislature, as it is expounded upon in the Missouri Constitution, and as it is expounded upon in the United States Constitution.
Yes, our law in Missouri and as Missouri judges is put out, is created by our legislature. So this foreign law, if we're talking about a foreign state, a foreign country, it does not generally, it's not going to apply to Missouri law. We follow our laws, our legislature creates the laws, and that's what we follow. We do follow the United States Constitution and the Missouri Constitution as well. But as far as foreign law, that's not a factor that we're going to be addressing in the St. Charles County Circuit Court.
Do you believe activist judges are a problem in Missouri?
Activist judges are always going to be a problem because it means they're trying to change something and it's not in their lane. They need to stay in their lane. They are not, that's not their function. Again, we have the three branches of government for checks and balances for a reason. So activist judges are a problem, and it's a concern and something that should be looked at. Anybody can claim that they are conservative. They can claim whatever they want, but look at a record, and that's how you're going to be able to tell. And judges that want to, do things their way because they feel that they are right, that's the problem when it's not in accordance with the law that we have that's in effect. So it can be a problem, and it's something to watch out for.
I think I can answer this question, guys. I'm excited about it. Okay. I'm glad for this question because it gives me a chance to address trust in the judiciary. I think right now there's a breakdown of trust within the judiciary, and I want to talk about the accountability that judges do have. So as everybody knows, as a trial judge, I make a ruling. I apply the law to the facts before me. Oftentimes the facts that come out in a courtroom might not be the same that come out in the media, but I am forced to only consider what I learned in that courtroom and apply the law to that. If I get the law wrong, we can go up on appeal so that another judge can look at whether or not I'm being an activist and whether or not I followed the law. Outside of that, we have the lawyer ethics we have to follow, but we also have judicial ethics that we have to follow. So if we are outside the bounds of our judicial ethics because we are acting partially or in a biased fashion, there are consequences. Those judges can be reported, and they can and are being removed right now.
Dancing a couple here because they're very similar. Why did you choose to run for this position at this point in your life?
I chose to put my hand in to be a judge at this point in my life because St. Charles County had a very large turnover of our bench in a very short amount of time. And I believed it was important to make sure that we had conservative voices on our bench to uphold our St. Charles County values. I had a trusted mentor or two pull me aside and say, hey, have you thought about being a judge? We think that you'd be a really great judge, and we'd like you to do it now. And I will tell you, I loved my job before. I had a great career. I had a great law firm. I was a nationally sought after teacher in my field of law and what I was practicing, and I was on the upswing. But being a judge really is a vocation. And I really did feel the calling to set that aside. And I had to close my law firm, give away all my clients, and come serve you, the citizens of St. Charles County, because it was just the right time to step up.
As was stated, there was a lot of turnover, and I have been in the courtroom prosecuting cases, managing 600 to 700 cases at a time. I've had at least 70 jury trials and hundreds of other hearings. I have a ton of courtroom experience managing cases as far as trying to work them out or taking them to trial. And at this point in my life, I said, I've raised my kids. I think St. Charles is a great place to live and raise a family, and I want to help keep it that way. And I think it's important to have judges with experience and somebody that can conduct a courtroom, knows the rules of evidence, knows how to select a jury, knows how to write orders, judicial orders. As a prosecutor, I've done appeals, civil work, post-conviction remedies, trials. We've had all kinds of things in front of various judges.
Have you sought, elected, or appointed office in the past? If so, please describe the process and results.
Yes, and it was, how old are my kids? 23 years ago, maybe. Maybe a little before that. I ran again because there was a judge that had, and I don't know, this may be dating myself, there was a police chief in St. Charles that got into an ego contest with a sitting judge, and I did not feel that it was an appropriate look for the judge to be doing. And so I ended up, that was a situation where a judge was removed because of the election process. So it was actually another judge, Judge Joe Briscoe, ended up winning the seat, and here we are. So.
This will be my third time seeking judicial office. The first time I submitted an application for a Division 16. Judge Vince Johnson ended up getting the appointment from Governor Parson in the summer of 2023. The second time that I sought judicial office was again through a governor appointment in the summer of 2024. And governor made his decision in October. I don't remember when I actually submitted it, but 2024 was when I submitted my second try to be a judge. And out of a slew of candidates and a rigorous process, Governor Parson decided that I was the candidate that was qualified for Division 11 and appointed me. This is my third time because I had an appointment. It was in the middle of somebody else's term, so I'm up a little bit quicker than I otherwise would have. And so now it's my first election, and I'm seeking a vote of the people to keep me in this office. Thank you.
This one might be a little premature, but if you were to be elected judge, do you have further aspirations in the judicial arena?
If I were to be elected judge, my focus currently is Division 11 Associate Circuit Judge to be the best judge that I can be for our county. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I do have the benefit of longevity. I have a long career ahead of me. I would like to spend that career on the bench. I am not going to say no to a possible ascension to the circuit court. I would eventually, towards the end of my career, enjoy being on the Court of Appeals. I think I have a good temperament for that, but that's not what I'm here for today, and that's not anywhere in the near future. Although I was really honored this past spring to be invited by the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals for the Eastern District of Missouri to sit as a special judge on a real appellate court case in one of the high schools here in St. Charles County. So that was a really great honor, but that would be a distant goal. Right now, I'm just focused here for our county and for our citizens.
As I said, I felt there is a need right now, and I am actually probably on the downside of my career. I've done a lot, and I have felt the calling to stay in St. Charles. I did not go out in private practice. I did not join a criminal defense firm or an activist law firm. I came and wanted to serve St. Charles County, and I continue to want to do that. And that is part of the reason why I am running for the judge position. Again, to help St. Charles County as a whole stay safe and keep it the place that we all love, protect our kids, protect our businesses, and our community as a whole. So this is where I want to end my career, is in St. Charles County.
If the General Assembly passed an obviously unconstitutional law and a case came before you regarding it, would you rule based on the letter of the law and leave the constitutional ruling to the appellate court? Or would you rule based on your determination that the law is invalid?
I don't think we can really answer that. They can't pass something. It's going to have to be determined constitutional. The circuit court would end up with challenges if they pass something that somebody feels is unconstitutional. There's nothing really that you can say is obviously unconstitutional in the law. But if they pass something, there's going to be challenges. We've heard challenges about the gaming. That's one of the most recent things. And there's challenges about whether it's constitutional or not. So any claims about whether something's constitutional or not is going to be heard at the circuit level or higher. So it's not going to hit lowly me. And so I don't know that we can really answer that question.
I would agree about the part that we can't really answer that question because that is something that might come before an associate judge. And so that's something that we would have to determine at a later time. But what I do want to talk about regarding that process and the importance of having an associate circuit judge in that process is we have trial court level judges, that's the associate in the circuit. Then we have the appellate court, then we have the Supreme Court. The appellate court and the Supreme Court look de novo or a new look at how the law is applied or if we interpreted the law properly. But it does start at the associate level. The important thing is that facts start at the associate level. And the appellate courts and the Supreme Court don't defer to the lower judges on decisions of law, but they do defer to us on decisions of fact. So how your associate judge would look at the facts and determine the facts might find what the higher courts can do then with the law. So it is important for, thank you.
To the extent this applies. What percentage of your time in your law practice is or was spent in litigation?
I don't know that I could put a percentage on it. A lot. I handled a particular type of case. Those of you who know me before as a judge, I handled DWI cases. DWI is unique because there's a criminal component, but simultaneously there's a civil component that has a right to a trial. And if in criminal cases, oftentimes those matters get worked out and they don't go to trial because if the defendant goes to trial, they're risking something. They're risking jail time. Versus on the civil component of the DWI, if you do nothing, the client essentially loses. If you do everything possible under the sun, you challenge probable cause, you talk about rights to an attorney, things of this nature, and you lose, it's basically the same result. So I practiced in an area where there was no disincentive to try cases. So I would say the majority of my civil cases did go to trial. Now they were bench trials, but I was litigating sometimes multiple trials in a day, definitely multiple trials in a week.
I would say probably 80% of my time is dealing with litigation. We have to review evidence, talk to witnesses. We're constantly reviewing motions. We have court dockets that are where we talk about resolving the case and then ultimately pleading the case. We also, as part of it, have motions to revoke probation, which also are court hearings and litigation as far as how to resolve the case. So most of what I'm doing is directed towards litigation. Discovery requests are sent out. Again, we look at the evidence. So reviewing the evidence is part of it. I have to look at the evidence, and I have to look at it in an objective manner in what I'm doing. What can I prove? What can I prove? And is this an incentive to try and work out the case or not, or prepare it to trial? And we are constantly preparing things to go to trial.
Merging a couple of additional ones here. What are your top 3 favorite Republican policies or positions? Explain why, or give us your Republican bona fides, or how can you assure us that you're a Republican?
Well, again, one of my priorities is keeping St. Charles County safe and a nice place to live, raise a family, conduct a business. So part of that is law and order. I am a big law and order proponent. I am supported by all the local law enforcement agencies. And I think that reflects my commitment, and that they know I'm committed to the safety of our community. And that being kids, victims, businesses, because businesses are victims as well. Going along with that is law and order and due process. We have a right, all the parties in a lawsuit have a right to have their day in court. They should be treated fairly and with respect. They come in, they expect to be able to have their grievance heard, and with someone that can look at it fairly and not prejudge. Okay.
Thank you. At the risk of repeating myself, I am for small government, for government actors staying within their lanes, including the judiciary. I hold personal accountability close to my heart. I think it's important that we are understanding, but also that each individual have their personal accountability. The rule of law, of course, I'm supportive of the rule of law. I live and work in this community, and I want the streets to be safe, and I think that's one of our priorities as judges, is to ensure that the streets are safe. Thank you.
To the extent you can, describe a hypothetical situation in which you would deny a search warrant request.
Immediately regret this decision to be here, but I'm joking. Search warrants allow the government to get into our things as long as there is probable cause, because the Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures and make sure that we are protected in our personal effects. And so when I review a warrant, I have to make sure that the facts are there, the facts are reliable, and that there is in fact probable cause to issue a warrant. And so if there's not probable cause to issue a warrant, it doesn't issue. If there is probable cause to issue, it does issue.
Yes, there are standards for issuing search warrants. There should be, and arrest warrants, probable cause that a crime was committed, probable cause that there's evidence and that it's located somewhere that they're wanting to search. They all have to be connected. And so if the officer puts that out in the affidavit for the search warrant and the application for a search warrant, it should be granted. And this is where activist judges come in when they don't issue it because they just may not like the circumstances or something about it, or think that, hey, maybe there's something else that's going on here. But when the facts show from the four corners of the warrant that there is sufficient probable cause to believe that there is evidence located at a particular location and it's evidence of a crime, then they can seize it. And it's not for the judge to exercise their own independent belief of whether it's going to be admissible later or whether there's more or not.
That sounded like they like my
It's like, what? How do you feel about the recent Supreme Court decisions on birthright citizenship?
It doesn't matter how I feel. So that's it. It doesn't matter how I feel. And again, this goes back to the principle that the judges And even as a prosecutor, we don't have the discretion. We are obligated to follow the law, and it's something that I take very seriously. As a prosecutor, I have to look at things from both sides. I don't get to be a defense attorney and hide behind the zealous representation of their client. I have to abide by the ethical rules. I can't hide evidence. I disclose everything. That's not necessarily what happens with someone representing criminal defendants. And they get to say, well, I'm representing my client. And just like for this, we don't get to pick and choose what we're going to enforce or not enforce. So if that's what the Supreme Court says, until something changes, and I will say, the law does always change, so it could change again. Oh.
Criminal defense lawyers do have to follow ethical guidelines and also have to follow the law when they're defending their clients. I do echo the sentiments of Ms. Monk regarding it doesn't matter what I think about the Supreme Court cases, and that's why we can't talk about it. There are cases that come before me as a judge that Denise Childress does not want to rule on in the way that Judge Childress is required to do. And so there are two phrases that I didn't really think much about before I became a judge, but I think about quite often now is judicial courage is one of them, to make a decision in the face of you guys who might not like it, right? We have to make unpopular decisions because that's what the law is and that's what Judge Childress is required to do, even if Denise Childress doesn't want to do it. And I'm sure I will get to that second phrase, maybe during one of my next questions. I'm out of time, that's all.
So we are technically over time here. I was going to give you guys one more question and then move to closing comments. What values do you align with within the St. Charles County community?
Do you say values? What values do I align with within the St. Charles County community? This is not my, I know that let me restart. It's been a very long day in court today. Faith, family, and freedom. So my parents are here, over here in the corner. My family is very important to me. I'm close. I'm the youngest of four. I have 7 nieces and nephews. And so family is very important to me. St. Charles County community, being involved. We've already talked about my volunteer work within the community to make sure that I'm giving back to this beautiful place that has given so much to me. I did not grow up here in St. Charles County. I'm originally from St. Charles County. So I came here by choice because I like what this community has to offer. And I would like to be part of maintaining that and giving back what has been given to me.
I will also say family, faith, and security or community. And they kind of go together. I think that as a community, we work together. But none of this can happen. And the whole reason I'm doing this is because I love the community. I love my family. Like I said, I'm from here. My family was here. This was a great place to grow up. And I am a faith-based person. I probably don't show it much, but I am faith-based and I enjoy sharing that with my closest circle. So the community though is what, like I said, drew me to do this now. My family is what drew me to be a prosecutor. I didn't, seek. I came back by choice as well because I wanted to come back here. I love growing up here and I want to continue that. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to closing statements. And you want to tell folks how to get in touch with you, how to follow your campaign, how to volunteer, how to donate, all of those things. Go ahead.
Excuse me, time?
Usually we do 30 seconds.
Closing?
Give them a minute.
Okay.
We'll be done. We started a smidge like, wait a minute.
I guess the biggest thing I want to say and why we're here is to find out about us. I have the experience to run a courtroom. I have the experience to be a judge. I have been judging cases that come through the prosecutor's office at all levels for 31 years. And I'm committed to St. Charles County, and I'm committed to the safety of our community. And that doesn't mean it's skewed one way or the other. It means I give everyone a fair chance. They come into the court and they will get a fair shake. I will base my decisions on the law and the evidence presented. I do want to have the court to run efficiently. And I think it's important to have bonds that hold people accountable. And that is a very important role of a judge, to set the bonds, to hold people here so that we can resolve their cases. And so I am asking for your vote. Remember, mom's the word. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everybody again for taking your time out of a Monday night to come here and listen to us and to make an informed vote. I'm Denise Childress. I am your judge currently. I have a 1.5 years experience as your judge running in courtroom. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. My campaign, you can find me on Facebook, Denise Childress for Judge, or you can learn more about me on my website, childressforjudge.com. I am an open book. There is a lot of information out there about me where you can learn about me so you know who you're voting into office. If you are interested, and I have earned your support after today, I have signs out in my car. We have t-shirts. You've already got a little bit of swag on your tables. We have some more up here if you are interested. I just ask that you please turn out August 4th and cast your vote for Denise Childress. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you ladies. As some of you have been here for some other forums have known, we've had a little bit of angst going back and forth, and you both kept it clean, and I really appreciate that. So we're really happy.